Hello my dear friends, and welcome to my channel. My name is Barbara, and today we're going to be looking at Sun conjunct Moon in Synastry. This video is for you if you have your Sun conjuncting someone's Moon in their own natal chart, or vice versa, maybe your Moon is conjuncting somebody else's chart. Now this can apply to relationships, romantic relationships, even your friendships as well, any types of relationships. This can be a very nice dynamic even in a romantic relationship actually, because what tends to happen with the Sun conjuncting the Moon in the Synastry between the two natal charts, the Moon person, their emotional world, their emotional needs, what's happening on an emotional level might feel very validated by the Sun person. Now this is if you have it in the same sign. So with the Sun person, it's going to be the outward expression of the Moon person's inner desires. Now this can go two ways. In Synastry overall, this is deemed to be a very positive aspect, but it really depends on the dynamic between the two people and what's going on with the rest of the natal chart, and maybe where both people are in terms of their development and their awareness, their self-awareness. Because let's say the Moon person maybe isn't as emotionally aware. Maybe this can create a dependent dynamic on the Sun person, where it's like they're constantly waiting for the Sun person to read their mind, understand them, understand their emotional world, because usually this dynamic starts off this way. And what tends to happen with relationships a lot of the time, when the dynamic starts off a certain way, the expectation's kind of there. So it's like the Sun person is kind of reflecting back to the Moon person the emotional world. It can even feel almost like a telepathic connection between the two people, where it's like the Sun person just knows the needs of the Moon person, and then it's kind of like it can perpetuate and it can turn into like maybe the Moon person is not always expecting the Sun person to soothe their inner emotional needs and their inner emotional desires, and maybe it can turn into a toxic dynamic in the sense where maybe communication can start to fall behind. Again, it really depends on the awareness of the Moon person, what's going on with their emotional world, and even the Sun person, because this is going to happen subconsciously without realizing, especially in the beginning with this type of conjunction. The Sun person is also going to feel very validated in terms of their ego, in terms of who they think they are. That's the whole thing with the Sun energy. The Sun sign in a natal chart, a lot of the time they say that it is the sign that we are going into, okay? It's maybe our potential, it's the identity in this way. It can also be our masculine energy as well, and it can also signify our fathers as well. But anyways, that's besides the point. So what tends to happen in this dynamic, it's like the Sun's identity, their ego, who they think they are, is being very much validated by the Moon person, and then vice versa. The Moon person's inner emotional world is being validated by the Sun person, because the Sun is basically reflecting back to the Moon person. Also, again, depends at the development level. Maybe let's say the Moon person is more underdeveloped, maybe they don't share a lot of their emotional world with anybody else. Well, in that situation, maybe when they meet the Sun person, they can feel kind of like, oh, this person really understands me. I don't even have to say what I'm thinking, and they just get me, or they just do things for me. They just know, there's kind of like an underlying knowingness in this dynamic between the Sun and the Moon person. Overall, like I mentioned, it is a positive aspect, but if there are any shadows or wounds, or maybe like the Moon person is struggling with codependency or something of that sort, once again, they can become overly dependent on the Sun person to reflect back to them their own emotional needs, wants, desires, and then the communication aspect in this dynamic can fall behind, because like I mentioned in the beginning, the relationship very much starts off without needing the communication aspect. There's like an underlying knowingness between the two people, which is what creates the initial point of contact, friendship, relationship, romantic relationship with the two people. And it's like they both kind of feel comfortable with each other in this way, because it's like they feel seen in different ways. But as time goes on, I mean, if we really look at relationships, it's really complex, right? There's attachment styles and traumas that may have taken place and all these sorts of things. So as time goes on, what I will say for this dynamic is obviously depends on the rest of the natal chart, but the communication aspect might start to lack, because the underlying expectation is there for the knowingness energy to kind of just always be there, that telepathic type of vibe between the two people. So I'm going to wrap up this video here on the synastry between Moon conjunct Sun in another person's natal chart. If you guys enjoyed it, please do like, share, and subscribe, and I hope you all have a beautiful rest of the day.